Oh yeah, we are back for the final match of the day, BTG versus TheOne. It has been an all-out war. We've had a total of 28, 29 kills in 2 games back-to-back. I don't think it's going to slow up anytime soon. We are here for the conclusion. I am still joined here with G-Clef and Tetcher on the left side. Tetcher, before we went to break, you said, hey, this is required if you want it to be. Are we going to expect anything less here in game number 3?
I mean, either one of these teams wants to go through. TheOne have looked like the stronger team in the actual group phase of HGC China, but at this tournament, in their first round match, BTG looked a lot more solid than TheOne. In the first game of this match, BTG looked pretty good. It's only now really that BTG were able to get a decent draft that they seemed happy with, weren't being caught off guard, and were able to take their first map of the entire tournament.
We saw Genji get let through, played in game number 1. We saw Sergeant Hammer get through in game number 2, a hero that springs up every so often. G-Clef, any chance we get Sergeant Hammer or Genji in this game?
I think Genji will have a continuous ban, maybe another Sergeant Hammer, depending on the battleground. I don't know where we are headed for game number 3, but still, I think it has a lot to do with the drafting. Stealing the Hawk Deckard away actually was a very good idea. I don't think that Kerosene was as strong as Deckard as a substitute into BTG. TheOne actually got a strong early game, late game call for the team, and they had a really balanced drafting for themselves in game 2, which I liked a lot more. But depending on the draft, I'll choose which team has a better idea of where we're headed at as well. We don't know that yet.
Tetcher, you share the same sentiment that it will come down to draft between these two teams? Like the skill level seems to be even. It's more draft, or are you favoring maybe one or the other?
Draft's definitely going to come down to it, but I think skill-wise, consistently, as long as they don't get tilted or anything like that, and I still going to lean towards TheOne. They are still a cohesive unit. In terms of consistency throughout the group stage, they have been better. They did go to MSB. They learned a lot from there, and they came back to the league a lot more grounded. But BTG have got to have them at least a little rattled at this point.
Well, if I told you there's one battleground where there is team fighting at a premium and it is always there, what would that be?
It would be Battlefield of Eternity. And we're talking about one of the substitutes, Loktar. He's played Li Ming twice in the last 2 games. In the first one, it went fantastically, and this is a great map for Li Ming.
You know who also shows up on this battleground once in a blue moon?
Alarak.
Alarak. So we'll see if that comes into the draft. I'm excited either way to see these two teams throw it down. It is going to be a test of will, it seems like, for these two teams to try and close this out. Again, the prestige of getting through day number 1, getting to day number 2, obviously trying to go back. You have another Chinese team that will be there waiting for you, and winning there, potentially the Koreans waiting for you. But we will not keep you waiting any longer, as it is now time to enter the draft of Battlefield of Eternity here for game number 3.
So, other heroes we can see here outside of these Li Mings and Alaraks, we can actually jump back to one of Loktar's old favorites. He hasn't played it at all. Sorry, he has played it a little bit this phase, but not much. That is the Grey Main. Back when RPG were at their top, where they placed 4th in HGC China, his Grey Main was something to be feared. But since the meta changes and due to some roster changes on his team, he didn't get the chance to play it that much in the future, in his future games. But in terms of this map, it's a fantastic Immortal Racer. So if they're able to get rid of maybe the Rainers or heroes like that can Immortal Race very well, like the Hanzos, then we might see that Grey Main coming out.
Yeah, the Hanzo always comes up is anybody willing to let this hero through? During the league play in all the regions outside of China, he's set at 15-4, always a dominant hero on this battleground. Phoenix, however, will be the first ban of the game, as well as Maiev. And now we see, does Genji get let through? Sergeant Hammer, are you willing to commit to an early one? We'll find out soon.
Well, we did have the 4 DPS ban last game, Phoenix, Maiev, Genji, Rainer, but plus Hanzo and Sergeant Hammer in there. So you've got to make the choice right now, TheOne. Of course, they have the choice, and it's going to be the Hanzo ban. Seems like they want to keep that hammer just like game 2. Dancing
is an incredibly good Hanzo, so it makes a lot of sense. However, they were first pick, and the fact is, Muggle is 11-1 on Hanzo. So unless they were a little just bit afraid of where they wanted to take the rest of their draft, or wanted to maybe sneak out that Genji for Meng, then it is a little bit weird that they banned this out. But once again, remove Immortal Races, limit the options. With Rainer banned out, you can, in theory, steal that Li Ming away from Loktar. But no, the Genji's just too high in priority. You can't argue with that. Meng is just legendary on this hero.
The options that come to mind, Diablo can always have that point-and-click wall charge if the opportunity presents itself, but also Deckard, who does get that 10 armor when he is near allies, does help him survive versus the potential dive of a Genji.
I mean, we could see both. Both could be very good here, and if not Diablo, then Garrosh also good, throwing heroes onto the boss stuns, but we're sticking with that Diablo hit.
I think it's a good idea to keep the Deckard in for themselves as well. They have been playing with Deckard for many games now, actually third game already with their substitute into the roster. They lost a lot of DPS, already Genji taken away, so the one's not really going to contest them. They may get the third man in there as a DPS as well, but there can be other choices that's not going to be as strong as what we have up there already. And they're stealing away the Li Ming as well.
This.
What a great drafting from the one.
Stealing away the getting that Genji thanks to some good Immortal Racer bans. Stealing away the Genji, getting the Genji for Meng. That Li Ming being taken, that's likely going to be for Muggle unless they swap those two around, which either way is still probably fine, as Meng is also a very good Li Ming. So as long as Muggle is comfortable on either of those heroes, they're going to have a wonderful time.
Double reset potential is always scary. Something that the Korean teams, they used to run probably more in the past, especially when Genji could get let through. Now Genji never gets let through.
Yeah.
But also the racing potential that Kerosene brings. You know, the Thrall pickup is also something that we have to consider that, you know, these teams do like to play. But Sergeant Hammer.
The Sergeant Hammer has finally been removed. Would have been terrifying with a Deckard on the board to just drop those potions onto the siege tank. So having that taken away is good. Even though it's an immobile hero versus a Genji and a Li Ming, the actual pressure and zoning potential it gives is too much.
I will say this, is that, oh man, all the assassins that we've seen banned out just change, well then.
Oh my.
So they are hiding something, the last pig.
Well, the Zarya gives you that predicted damage, right? So Arcane Orb coming in, you slap that shield up, you know you can eat those combos. Urel does very well. Very tanky team here. I just wonder if that last pick might be something like a Vala, something of that nature that says,
maybe?
Hey, keep this team alive.
I mean, it could still be Greymane. We already mentioned it for Loktar. I wouldn't be surprised if it's LLK.
Well, it won't be Greymane now.
Oh, okay. So, for starters, Hugo's Malthael is terrifying. I've already talked about this earlier in the day. But the Arthas, back when it was meta, he had some of the best Arthas flanks in any region. He always had the perfect angle to wrap around and set up for these teams. In fact, this is so reminiscent of the old style of the one, where they would have the Genji with Dragon Blade and back in the days Divine Shield and would just set up for him. It was always Arthas to set up for it, and it's Lunara coming in here.
That's not the hero I would have expected.
Me neither.
You know, BTG. Look, raw damage numbers can potentially be there when you have the poison damage. Urel's not terrible. Zarya, obviously, if you can get the perfect shields. But the Arthas in particular, you know, I think we saw one Arthas game towards the end of the season in China.
We did. It was by the one, and they once again it was on this map.
Yeah.
And they pulled off a fantastic wraparound, like I was just talking about, with Hehe and set them up for an easy win.
Well, it does give you the potential lockdown. Diablo does have this thing, especially when you go Icebound Fortitude at level 7 for Arthas. You have armor to deal with stuns. You have great survivability. Now, Arthas, one of those things is, how do you kill an Arthas in this situation? Is it through the war of attrition because of Lunara Poison? Early game, it's one of the highest scaling things that we have in the game. But when you look at the composition, it just really stands out to me, the Arthas pick. If you get the lockdown, you know that you have the setup for the Li Ming, Genji, Swift Strike, Li Ming combo. But more importantly, Diablo, it can't exactly engage into Arthas the same way. And if you start to get caught in that slow that we get, Arthas can have a very large impact in this game.
And you can't really take out Zarya. Zarya, of course, mainly used for shield to kind of keep your DPS into the shield for the sustain and the survive. But Zarya actually does a lot of damage as well. She can also go for the basic attack, which a lot of the opponents will basically let her do damage, just sit there, auto attack all day. And Zarya with the most hero damage, that does come out. We do have those kind of games from here on. And Lunara can be just jumping back and forth, being the bait herself. I think that's also a chance. You can't really take out Zarya from there.
I mean, even though it's a little bit unorthodox, I can't help but love this, the one draft, just due to how many comfort picks they have. The Arthas is a old hee-hee favorite. Hugo has been playing so much Malthael this season, it's almost insane. And once again, that Meng Genji, it's always there in the backline. Muggles played pretty reasonably on Li Ming as well. The only thing kind of out of the ordinary is the Karazim, which they've only played once. But either way, it fits perfectly with this aggressive composition.
The back and forth. BTG still holding people's hearts here in the thing. You know, the one thing I love about this matchup in particular is earlier in the day, BTG and TheOne both had very solid, very meta-style drafts. The minute they play each other, they're like, hey, you know, let's go back to doing what we do. It just seems like, all right, you know what, we'll play meta against here. But they just want to, China has their own meta at times. We know they play very meta most of the time, but then stuff like this comes out, and that's where their reputation comes from.
It does, and the fact is, we don't even see stuff like this Arthas coming out very often in China. It's like once in a blue moon, but second we appear on an international stage and their backs are up against the wall, suddenly it's time to, we know it used to work, let's put our lives on it.
Well, we're going to see whose backs are against the chair, because if you win today, that's going to be there tomorrow. That's exactly where you'll be parking yourself, as it is time to get game number 3 underway, Battlefield of Eternity. There's going to be lots of brawling as we're going to see who moves on to day number 1 and who goes home between Beyond the Game and TheOne.
Blue, you have Beyond the Game. Dancing on Lunara, LOK on Irel. 619 on Diablo once again. Locktar on that Zarya. Healer, please, will be Deckard again.
Well, the Muggle again on the mage style there. Li Ming, Meng on the Genji. Hugo on Malthael. Hey on Arthas. But then BJZ, seeing how many plays he can make and keep this team alive against that poison damage that's going to be coming in from the Lunar. He's going to be on Karazim.
So no basic attack build from Zarya. They're heavily relying on Lunara now.
I think maybe just due to the fact that Arthas is on the other side. I mean, Feel the Heat has always been strong, and if you get that, obviously Zarya has an incredibly fast attack speed, but you know, you do get caught in that melee range of Arthas, do get that stacking slow.
Rotation comes out a lot from all the teams, especially from the East, where when there's Irel, make sure you're not pressured from the early game, making sure you have some control. And they make the early rotation now, and they're looking for kicks. Locktar is the target for now.
Wow.
There's a Genji getting the kill, finding security. Even Diablo on top of that. Great control for TheOne.
This is a 5-on-5. I mean, they just came down, they threw down. You know, it's one of those things that is Zarya, you like to move forward. You like to get that early energy, especially, you know, from those structures. They pushed out incredibly far, and that's where Arthas comes into play. He's like, that's cool. You have 0 mobility. Let me just go ahead and lock you down right here. And then Arthas just squatted. You don't have to auto attack. You don't have to really stutter step. It's more just locking down, getting control. Zarya had a long walk home despite sitting at 100% energy, or max energy for her. It was just impossible to make it home. Hugo, seeing if he can make his way home, should be fine, but there's going to be the charge in. Maybe not. It's going to be a takedown on Malthael.
Genji is looking for to turn that in with the kill onto Irel as well. And they didn't really lose a lot. They used less of a resource to make that rotation, so they do have some extra XP from the wave, and that's about it. But how did they actually utilize this time, make this time worth for the macro? It seems like TheOne, ever since the game 2 started, they went back to what they were good at. They found their strength back again. They have started their own macro in this case again.
There is almost little to no CC outside of Arthas. You could argue that maybe a wave of force for a knockback, but outside of that, it is different. So for Zarya, you have to wonder, because you do have a self-cleanse on your shield later in the game, and if those moments come upon yourself quite often, then maybe that changes your mentality, but you also have that same talent here, an extra shield that you could potentially get, a basic shield that you get based on how much energy you've absorbed. So there is a trade-off. I'm curious about that, but we also have Dragon Claw out here for Genji to potentially get to that backline.
They do have lots of percentage, a very like very likely 7-sided to burst down the Diablo, who's going to be charging in alone. Try to have that isolation when at that moment, trying to turn that around by focusing on the Diablo. But other than that, they don't really have the CCs that you mentioned to lock him down for that amount of damage to get the kill. I think Diablo will just take the damage and walk out of there because they lack the CC there.
Right now we have some early race potential coming out from TheOne as they start to siege this down. And Iron Fist Kerosene incredibly strong there. LLK comes in on the backside. Hey, greets him. No damage done by BTG despite having this Lunara, so the positioning here is going to be interesting. We get the flip back in, the shield's going to be there, the knockback, there's going to be the root follow-up. Arthas surviving for now, but can he get out? He does.
And in the meantime, they couldn't really get the maximum damage. As Li Ming and Genji looking for the kill, not happening yet as they have so much shield and sustain. BTG's got it if you're looking for sustain.
The poison is there, the healing is enough for ZJZ to keep Mang alive, but Hugo not as fortunate. He's going to be takedown number 2 here for BTG as they turn their attention back over to their side, trying to take advantage of this Lunara poison.
Racing's not over, certainly. They do have Kerosene and Li Ming. The Arthas, well, of course, TheOne got 50% to 100% to start off the second half time. BTG, even if they kind of won the team fight, they couldn't really wait for the time for TheOne to actually delay. And because even though they won the team fight, because of Immortal, they lost the first half. They will still lose the first one.
Right now, we'll see how the defense comes in as Lunara does have very good clear. Of course, the particle grenade build coming in for Zarya. We'll see if that can help poke this down, get the shield off, and maybe work this thing into melee range. Right now, again, there's not a lot of lockdown. Once that goes down, once you see that root come in for Arthas, you know it'll be a while before the next wave of CC comes in. So it allows you to move forward more aggressively. There's going to be another follow-up. You see the follow-up from the rest of the team, but there's not a lot of opportunities. There's not a lot behind it just yet.
It is still pretty tense as they do have their Immortal and load up Zarya right in there with the Calamity getting reset. They want more, charging on to Diablo, but 619 is pretty strong. All they wanted was the fort. They got the kill as well, so they're happy to take this.
Surprising. I mean, it seemed like they had the defense, but BTG unable to hold there. They end up losing the fort. Now they find themselves at a 1-level deficit. LLK just able to get out of there. That's a meeting you don't want to have with TheOne. It's like, oh, hey, I'll see you later.
That is not a surprise party that you want. It is not your birthday totally, as you will find the death day if you actually go into the side of the party. The BTG having a lot of struggle after the first Immortal loss. It seems like they're not really getting the advantage of winning the team fight and pushing that to the maximum where they can get more out of that after. Their team fight potential is very good. With the Zarya, they can actually have pretty good shield. But TheOne, they actually found the right target. It is the Zarya after the shield. And let's see how BTG will be able to sustain that. Huh. Haven't seen this for a long time.
Yeah, he should have done that at minute 1. That's when the real OP time is. But either way, trying to get that down. It is, and you look at the positioning here. So for the blue team, the next Immortal, their defensive side will be on the left side. So if the defense holds out, they do have that well to go back and tap. They don't have one at the top, so it's either Hearth or go to the bottom. So it's actually a really clever play to make sure that they get this advantage for the next one. He does go over, ends up confirming that snipe. 619 is going to see if he can find him in rotation. I don't think he has a Swift Strike available for a few more seconds. There it is. He's going to eat a tower shot. LLK, go ahead and use those wings. Get on over there, Space Goat. That's going to be another kill.
From what I know, Korean stats, the Fountain strategy has 1 and 9. So it's a losing move almost. You end up spending all the time destroying the Fountain, and you never really get too much value out of it, because most of the time team fight does happen, it doesn't really go to a sustained war. Maybe if you go back to 2017 with a double support, maybe it helps with tapping onto the Fountain, but usually it doesn't really go that long. So TheOne actually opening up with the burst damage. Post 10, they have the 10. BTG did. Oh, look, he's still trying to survive there? What in the world?
Well, he tried to get the steal. He's like, look, if I'm going to trade out, I'm taking it with me. Instead, TheOne says, no, you're not. We're going to get a couple more kills. Locktar, he's got to get the heck out of dodge. But for TheOne, they're able to move in aggressively, get that takedown. They'll push in here. X-Strike is not the name of the game. We are getting a Dragon Blade G-Clef, not as popular anymore.
Not as popular for sure, but if they want to, I guess Genji wants, if he wants to chase the speed of Lunara, he does get that small extra dash every time he swings the blade, and it will do damage as well. Maybe
We've
that's
seen Arthas as well lock him down with that slow. It's like, look, you get him here, I'm going to swipe right through him. So we'll see how that plays out. Very interesting.
You have the 7-sided back now. BTG does have 10, and when they have the Lightning Breath push the damage with Lunara, maybe enough. We did see it lacking a little bit when they were focus firing on one. But Deckard providing on extra damage, even Zarya will have some extra damage as well.
Poke here from Muggle, continuing to whittle away. 619 will move into position, look for an opening, see if he can get a charge. He instantly goes in. Arthas gonna get the root. He's gonna get the setup. No follow-up. As we do see Genji and Karazim, they're gonna move towards the top to get a camp of their own, but once they see the numbers start to fall on that Immortal, it's not exactly a trade. I mean, Lunara's level 4 does allow her to get a large chunk of damage, but here goes Diablo again.
Diablo charges in. Not going to be the best pair of all time, but they do manage to get the top and come back to the Immortal, so overall they can have the chance, but here's the damage. Hugo just goes down without doing too much at all.
He's the first. Will he be the last? And there we go. The Army of the Dead is out. Can he survive long enough in this onslaught? Unable to do so. Enough damage is going to be there. That's a double kill now for BTG, fighting their way back in. They'll now turn their attention down towards the bottom to get some damage in, but they still need to have the defensive structure. And they're going to use Urel and Diablo to at least hold that position, allow Lunara to get that poison damage value. There's going to be a Hearth back because that camp is pushing top. So an interesting approach here for BTG, not to end up holding on just yet. But here we go again.
And leaving, teleports away with the dash and heal from the Karazim and surviving. They're trying to poke this one out as it is close to being done. They still have 1700 to go on that Immortal. This is really close though, but BTG, because they have to defend, they can't really do damage onto their own one. Lunara is soaking in the poison damage a little bit, but it is taking a lot of time.
BTG, they're going to go back. They did get the shield down a large margin, so that will allow an easier defense. They do need to clean up the top lane here. They still have a fort standing in the way in the bottom, and they are not down that talent deficit yet. So for BTG, see how their defense goes. No fort wall here, so the one can be somewhat aggressive with their positioning. But look for Arthas to try and lead the attack. Obviously, finishing that level 1 does make the rooting that much easier. See if we get the follow-up of Meng and team behind that. You can already see Meng's positioning, but in that push is going to be the Wisp, so unable to really get any sneaky plays in.
Meng was trying to look for the slightest bit of angle to actually dive in, pressuring in the back line, but this Immortal is still pretty strong. I don't think it'll be getting the keep, but the one will be looking for that angle, and they're already backing up slightly as Hugo actually dives in. He's going to be in trouble.
The expulsion zone going to zone him out, but here comes the Tormented Souls, keeping Hugo alive. He's staying in there. Stay while and listen is enough to get the lockdown. That's going to be kill number 1, but there are 2 members now down. Make it 3, make it 4. Can we make it 5? That is going to be a 5-man team wipe in favor of the one. The Immortal now has pushed down this keep. They are in complete control. Diablo, the only one that has the souls. Death timers are short, but the one has turned their attention to the core. Let's see if they're willing to commit as they go in.
These two do have the Karazim, and the death timers are super low on BTG, so, and still not even getting a single % because of the shield, so that was a safe call to go back. I know they do want to finish the series and move on to the next round, but that was going to be a bad core call if they went all in.
Yeah, outside of Karazim, your sieging potential is not that great. Malthael, not that great. Li Ming has some, obviously better in the later stages of the game if you go Mirror Ball, but it's very hard that early with those short death timers. So they back away, and now on even talent tiers, the one, they're showing some discipline. But BTG is showing some impatience. They realize they are now going to be on a timer, especially with that keep being down in the bottom. They're going in for the early invade, trying to find those even talent tier fights. We'll see if the one gives it to them.
Like, they don't want to contest for this. There's no risk. There's a lot of risk involved when they're on same talent. Even though they're full levels ahead, they don't really have to go for that small zone. That's exactly where BTG wants to fight. To you don't really have to go. You can just lose your camp. Though it's painful, you can wait it out until 16, making sure you have the advantage with the talent, and then going later, they're sighted onto Diablo, connecting some damage and making sure you do have to secure with the onto the camp, but they used a lot of things.
Now here we go, the 7-sided strike is down, so we'll see if that goes, and they have the option. With Tormented Souls in that choke point, reducing the healing, reducing the damage. Lightning Breath is coming out as well, trying to hit multiple members. Li Ming going to be the first to fall on the side of the one, but there goes Meng. He goes in, he does get the reset, but he's being targeted by the poison. It is an absolute bloodbath as Meng, he's not going to survive, and now everybody's low. Everybody's following. The one somehow has lost 4 members in this engagement, and the one did give him. That is a 5-man team wipe again, this time in favor of BTG. But the fact that the one chose that fight on even talent tiers, BTG got exactly what they wanted.
Goatman for the win. Goatman did a lot of damage actually to the one. That's the reason why they were getting lower and lower. And the moment they were trying to go in, because they were also getting harassed by it, they couldn't really go all in. If they went all in 100%, I think they could have actually won that team fight because they were really close. And Li Ming Genji, they could, instead of running away, they could have done a little bit extra damage before they went down. But it was a weird decision that they started to back down when they could actually open up more opportunities if they got the reset.
We have some interesting control. Abolish Magic picked up for Lunara, so able to cleanse somebody else. We did see the cleansing shield for Zarya, which is why you see her walk into those stuns, gets the unstoppable. It also provides you energy in these fights. And now BTG, they're looking to hold on in defense again. Cleansing touch picked up for the one. No 16 yet for BTG. They're not yet in the lanes as Yrel. You can see her on the minimap, going to position down while the rest of the team is going to try and soak here. 16 still so far away. We'll see if they can survive this onslaught of Li Ming and team. And with the shields of Zarya, it does allow you to step forward to take some damage with those shields and the Deckard healing as well.
And you can take a lot of the poking damage from Li Ming and buy some time as Yrel still soaking it from the bottom. They are pushed out, pressured out. They do have 16. BTG does not at the moment, focusing onto Diablo for now, but 16-19 is escaping pretty nicely. Focus fire onto Higi now. But there's a Deckard. Stay a while and listen, but that's going to be a lot of fire damage, but Diablo goes down instead.
Percentage-based damage just doing so much. Now we're trying to see that's 2 people taking down. Leaping Strike, not able to confirm the kill. Arthas is going to fall. 3 members down. Can we get more? Dragon Blade is enough. That's 4 members down, and all of a sudden we are going 5 for 5 on these team wipe. There's going to be the dismount. Malthael just trying to cover ground, does land that, should be able to get a few more, but Yrel, well, she's pretty good at getting that insta-mount. The one not opting to end the game here, as that lane was very much pushed out by that earlier Shaman camp. But as these fights get later and later, they've got to get there. My goodness, I just looked up at the scoreboard. We're sitting on 29 total kills here, G-Club.
Only 16 minutes in, so almost having 2 kills per minute. It's getting close. It's really getting close to that number.
This is the one. They are getting ready for the victory push. They all go back. They want full mana. They know that it just takes one minor amount of poke damage here. They are going to be looking to try and end the game. Let's see if they go to the top camp
yes,
or whether
I think they want to time it with the camp. That's why the Genji is waiting for such a long time. This rotation with BTG with 183 left, I think it may just be a waste. But Meng does have to be careful. To change CC, Genji may do no damage and he may be the one to fall.
Well, they have to be able to deal with the catapults in the bottom lane before they mount their defense in the top. Instead, they have not cleared those waves. BTG going in with one last one. The one seemingly thinks they need the whole farm to try and end this game. Instead, they are stalling this out, and now they don't want to risk the fight. So they're giving away that top lane control that they wanted. They're giving it away here. They still only need one bit of poke on this. An interesting approach from the one.
And they do get the Immortal. And in the meantime, with controlling the Immortal, they wanted to have further macro this game out so they can have more control over the map. Maybe they wanted to time it perfectly with the Tom camp. Didn't really happen with the big rotation. Pressure against the Genji here.
We'll look for BTG to potentially try and take a fight behind this Immortal. That's going to be their best chance. They'll likely lose keep here. If they end up losing a kill in the middle of all this, it will be lights out, game over, and the one will go on to victory. But for BTG, they're holding on, trying to defend one last time to keep themselves in the game.
Also half shielded, so still range damage. There's a root onto Zarya. Not going to be too effective as Hugo is caught in there, but sustaining a lot of damage by himself. And with the sleeve, he does go down. Does the first go.
Yeah, but everybody's so low on the side of BTG. Muggle just needs one reset to really pop off here. Dragon Blade is going out as well, but that's going to be Genji. Arthas is going to fall as well. That's 3 members down. The keep has gone down, but that is 3 members down on the side of TheOne. It is just an all-out brawl here in the middle of this. Obviously, the Zarya play really starting to show itself in these team fights, but is it going to be enough to really say, hey, we can come back in this game? You're down 2 keeps. You're already down to 80% on that, giving up that lane control. You still have to take a fort down on the other side. With these death timers where they're at now, BTG, they have shown the knowledge, the aggression that is needed to get back into these fights, but there is so much to be done, G-Clef, for them to get back into this game.
Yeah, regardless of what happens, who wins the last game, Loktar is the MVP in this game. He's just creating everything with that expulsion zone alone, just displacing Martel and make sure he does not get to escape at all, and make sure they are isolated from the team, and Ziliming is so forced to do no damage because she's so far away when Hugo actually dives in by himself with that Martel. So BTG, the reason why they won that team fight was because of that one single skill shot from Zarya.
I'm not gonna lie, I would have loved to have seen them confirm that well there. Their aggressive point will be on the bottom, which means that's gonna be the one defensive side. End up getting that well via the minions. Okay, that is something I was like, wait a minute, hold on, we need to get that well down. The one not able to defend it. They are gonna sit on their camp. Surprisingly enough, they are sitting in the lead in terms of that race towards 20. We'll see if this is a chance for BTG to at least stop the bleeding in the bottom lane via the Shaman camp. Catapults inevitably went out in that lane. But for BTG, they're buying enough time, but they desperately need 20. And once they get 20, if they get there first, they have to be incredibly aggressive to just take the Immortal, force the fight, see if they can get there. Also, at this stage of the game, Lunara poison scaling is insane. Obviously, we'll continue to see if we go into that poison damage at level 20. We have it 16. It's been enough to turn some of these fights.
They were timing it perfectly, so they are not as much pressured. We're looking for that team fight later on. TheOne, they have to use what they have against BTG here. They have the catapult pressure from top and bottom together. And even against 20, they can just evade fight. They don't have to fight. You can see Martel after the big rotation from BTG on top. He's already doing the wave. He's already clearing the camp, making sure they have extra pressure within the time where they will likely to get the Immortal instead. So they're bursting this one down. They have no other choice.
They don't have a choice, and we see Genji up there. He's just waiting for this next minion wave to come through, so he just puts BTG on an even shorter clock, a shorter timer. TheOne now has picked up level 20 as well. They will be looking to potentially take a fight, but it's all about the map control, controlling the camps. You see Malthale at the bottom. You see Genji at the top. They want those lanes pushed out because despite this being here, BTG has to fall back. They have to defend. We'll see where this spawns and whether this is. This is BTG's best chance to have the Immortal on their side, the defensive side. That means they will have another chance to fight. But right now, they are holding on as TheOne starts to poke down as 619 holds on here on the front line.
They do have long-range poke with Li Ming. That's only a little bit of damage as BT still has entire 5 men, and there's a pressure now going in. Genji on top, Martel on the bottom. They do have the catapult. It will be slowly taking down the shield and maybe a little bit of damage onto the core as well.
Oh, 7-sided strike. They're going in. Karazim, he's got to be careful here. He did go into the 11-sided strike at level 20. He does manage to make his way out. Catapults are on the core, but we see LLK. He's coming over for defense, and now Diablo, he looks to be minor caught out. The shield comes out from Loktar. See if they can get the lockdown expulsion zone. Can we find a target? But right now, the defense is desperate. TheOne starting to poke down. They're still looking to be aggressive, though.
Yeah, this is hard. If you delete the lane, you are missing from the Immortal. TheOne's going to get 3 Immortals, so they do manage to go in. Martel still pressuring into the core. All they have to do is escape from this zone here, as Martel still right next to the core, providing that pressure.
Here we go. Catapult starting to mount up. Those shields will not last for long, but it doesn't matter. Genji's going to be the first of all. There's going to be the silence going in. Their lightning breath is going to lock down. Hey, he's trying to walk away. Healing up for now. He's going to go down here in a moment. That does get a second takedown. BTG is holding strong, and the poison damage starting to mount up as it has come through. Lunara is putting out so much damage here in the later stages of the game. That is a third member taken down. Muggle, he's trying to make his way, but Diablo is going to get him in the clutches. Actually, it's going to be Zarya confirming the kill. 4 members down, and they have yet to take any more damage on their core. BTG is holding on.
And they're going deep. This reminds me of the Gita versus Tempest from MSV. It could actually happen. BTG is making this work, even though they are feeling so much pressure from all the macro control the one is actually having. They're making the team fight work for themselves. This is insanely crazy game what we're watching here.
I would have loved to see them commit to that, commit to the keep takedown. Even you have the Zarya there, you have the damage. They just didn't feel that they had the time to do it. You take that down because the next Immortal, there's a fort in the top lane, which means this will push into that top lane. They do get the charge over, proc the Shaman Camp. This will also go top lane. You could have neutralized some of that bottom lane damage. Instead, they'll have to deal with the catapults in the back, which minimizes their impact in the top lane. Those catapults will continue to mount up. They have to respond to that bottom lane over time. And for Yrel, she has gone down there. But with this Immortal, it is 23 minutes in, but the probability of it taking down a keep is not that high. And so for BTG, they have to be so aggressive if they really want to try and get back into this game in terms of evening out some of these lanes, because the catapults are so strong in the late game.
But even for TheOne, if they lose 1 or 2 members, it could just go all the way to the core. That's totally possible at this late game. BTG is still pushing super hard, just understanding what
that poison
TheOne
damage is insane.
Late game Lunara, so much damage, and look at that Immortal still having the shield right now.
Yeah, and look for 619 to try and initiate, trying to get the flip over. You have the expulsion zone as well. See if he can make the play here. The entire wall is down. The Immortal starting to move in. A keep here, minimum. Maybe they can win the game. BTG is going in. There's going to be the charge, but the cleansing dash is going to be there. 7-sided strike, 11-sided strike is out doing a lot of damage, and here comes the stay a while and listen.
And Decker trying to put out the maximum damage here. He is out of the fight as they are trying to turn this in with the Infinite Direct. The Blade is getting here. Lunara late game damage, but with the reset, that can happen, but once you do not have the kill, cannot happen anymore. Living goes down, and with the Immortal, this will be a core kill, and BTG turns everything around in this game.
It just goes to show you that losing 2 keeps is all it takes to win the game for BTG as they have come back. The Lunara poison damage has been enough. The scaling is real. The Zarya composition here has proven strong. BTG coming in against all odds with the subs here have taken down TheOne here on day number 1. They have sent TheOne home packing, but BTG will be moving on to day number 2 here at the Eastern Clash.
What a crazy game. BTG had great understanding, even with all the pressure, no near the keep. Well, if you look at the picks, Martheo, Genji, they're not going to do too much siege damage. They're not Sonya, they're not Greymane, they're not Illidan. So they have them next to the core, but they cannot do the same amount of damage. Understanding that, BTG didn't really get pressured too much. They were able to hold and sustain for that amount of time, came back super strong and won the game.
That was quite insane. A TheOne dominated game from start to almost finish, I should say. But those last 3-4 team fights, where finally BTG were able to get online, that was absurd and insane. I was backstage during this, Snitch is seeing when the second keep went down. It's like, all right, they're in optimal position. But that was such a good comeback. Those lightning breaths especially were on point, and that Lunara damage, both teams on like no hit points at the end of every single fight. But the difference is the Genji this time wasn't able to actually get the resets off, neither was the Li Ming.
Sometimes you get to those late games, and TheOne, it seemed like they just put too much pressure to try and end it right then and there instead of playing the slow game. They had a very clear strategy when they sent Genji and Malthael to the top and bottom lane. But after that, it seemed like, hey, maybe we need to get the aggression onto the Immortal while you had the rest of the team split. Diablo just needs a snap opportunity to just find a target, was able to get that. And at that point on, it seemed like TheOne just lost complete control over that. Despite having 2 keeps down, you just get into a position, especially for BTG, it was best case scenario to have that Immortal on that side. If it's top, bottom, or even on the other side, it's basically game over. But for BTG, it was the best case scenario for defending there. They defended both lanes, and then they were able to get the pick and take a team fight and continue to snowball. That was incredible play by BTG.
We finally started to see Dancing step up. He really struggled in the last game when he was taken off his comfort ranged assassins and put onto a melee offlaner. But in this case, that Lunara was so clutch. Those leaping strikes on especially Malthael with Black Harvest, if he'd been left up in those fights, it would have been game over. But his focus targeting was so good and so clutch.
Well, that is, of course, the final match of the day, but we are not done yet. We're going to take a look at the bracket before we go to our winners interview to see how today shaped up, as it was obviously Korean dominance in the top part of our bracket with Blossom, Tempest, Gen.G, and Ballistics all winning 2-0 in those best of threes, but it was the action in the bottom as China fighting amongst themselves here at the later part of the day. They'll have the pleasure of taking on the Koreans again as we move later into tomorrow. But for the day, any of these teams stand out to you, G. Clef?
Oh, it's going to be a tough one. All the top four, of course. Blossom Tempest, that's a trade. As Tempest has always won the series best of 5, Blossom seems like they want to try something new. I don't know what's going to come out. They did not try anything new today. So that can actually change up the result. And Gen.G versus Ballistics, that is a scary one that everyone must watch. And even from the last match of today, BTG and TheOne, I think they are playing better after a few games. Even if one of the Korean teams that drops down, BTG cannot be underestimated. I think they have some power to actually bring some Korean teams down as well.
Everything we have left looks super good. Like you already mentioned, Blossom looked superb in their early series, whereas Gen.G Ballistics, the Eastern Clash, I think we can call it there, is such a good and consistent matchup we've had at every single Eastern Clash at this point. And then, of course, like you said, BTG, they gave Gen.G a run for their money. They just had probably one of the best series of the tournament so far, as crazy as it was against TheOne. I'm feeling BTG. I still think that Korea just looks so good in this tournament. But right now, I think TheOne might be winning a couple fans at least at home.
I think there's definitely some new fans, and there'll be a lot to tune in tomorrow. But we still have the winners interview, and we're going to send it over to Caldor to wrap it up for us with that interview.
Well, Jo, after we just had a pretty insane ending to that series, I have now Locked from BTG with me. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
That was quite the ending there. So my first question would be, how did you guys manage to turn Game 3 around? What were communications like? How did you end up turning this insane game with a comeback around and win the series?
他第一个问题是问，今天的这场比赛感觉怎么样？然后和队友之间的是怎样沟通交流的？
今天这场比赛我们打得很刺激，然后大家也看到就比较精彩，就对我们来说也是比较有意义的一场比赛。然后跟队友之间交流的话，我们都尽量的用英语来交流，就大家都能懂，用简短的英语来交流。
They think the last match is very exciting and very meaningful to them. And also, regarding the new players, they communicate with in English.
Oh, so they communicate completely in English throughout the entire series. Doesn't this cause some problems, or are they all on a level where they feel that they have a good way to get the calls through, even when it gets into a heated team fight?
如果用英文沟通的话，会不会有一些障碍？比如说在战术上，什么时候去打仗，什么时候去推内保之类的？
会的，就是因为我们在沟通有问题，所以我们尽量的选择在打架的阵容和打架的地图，就是尽量以团战来取得胜利。
Of course, the communication gonna be a problem for them, so they're gonna choose the map and the draft, focusing on battle fight. So they're gonna choose. There's no problem for that communication.
So when we're talking about now them playing also with two sub players, when they were heading into the series against a team that has done very well in China and plays with their full 5-man roster, what were the expectations going into this series? Did they think they could win, or were they concerned that it would be too difficult with the team that now has 2 substitution players?
这次比赛有2位替补的选手过来，然后今天是面对中国比较好的队伍也打胜了。那么对后边的比赛有什么期待？
我们就抓紧时间，这2天再多练一练，争取下一场比赛打得更精彩。
They're gonna practice more today and prepare for tomorrow's match and get more gratitude.
With the last game in particular, do they feel that team fight heavy style suits their own play style the most?
根据最后几场比赛，你们是不是觉得团战型的阵容更适合你们？
本身我们就很喜欢打团战，然后其次我们现在交流稍微有一些障碍，所以我们更偏向于打团战的阵容和打地图。
They prefer the team fight, draft and the maps.
Do they think they have a chance to take the Korean teams down tomorrow?
你们觉得明天对阵韩国队伍是否有机会？
如果是打架的话，我们谁都不怕。
They are not afraid anyone.
Right, awesome. Thank you very much, and good luck for these games tomorrow. All right, guys, so that concludes day number 1 of the Eastern Clash here in Seoul. So we had a couple of really interesting games, and of course, finishing with a bit of a bang here, a 3-game series where BTG is able to clutch out a victory on Battlefield of Eternity. Probably the best match and the best map of the night. But that's it for the day. I hope that we're going to see you guys tomorrow again for the second day of the Eastern Clash. We're going to see in the upper bracket the Korean teams face off against each other. And of course, we still have with SPT and with BTG 2 of the Chinese teams. They're going to try and make a run through the lower bracket. Thank you very much for tuning in today. We're going to see you guys tomorrow.